Entertaining. Cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar and Robin Pabello, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, and thank you for listening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm your host, Alexa Polar. This is Female Filmmakers Fuse.
Hi, this is Robin Pabello.
Number to call in is 818-602-4929. That's 818-602-4929. We have a very special guest holding on the line. I'll go ahead and start the introduction real quick. You can always catch us on, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, all those good, podcasting streaming services. We also have the shows on YouTube, so you can find us there on Female Filmmakers Fuse. And if you want to watch live, you can watch us live on Facebook via the LA Talk Radio Facebook page, and tune in live every Sunday via LA Talk Radio directly on their website, or download the app. It's free, and there's a lot of great content here. Our guest is Jennifer Merin. Jennifer Merin is Jennifer, sorry, are you there? I kept saying your name.
I am here. I'm here.
Jennifer, you're currently located in New York, correct? Is that where you're at? East Coast?
I am based in New York, yes.
Okay.
But travel frequently to the coast as well.
Okay. And for anyone that's tuning in now, Jennifer, you're president, currently president of the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Okay. How did you get your start in this industry? And then we'll get into Alliance of Women Film Journalists.
I was actually born into this industry. My mother was an actress, and I was at the ripe age of, one, imported to Los Angeles, to Hollywood, when my mother was imported to Hollywood by Bertolt Brecht and Sir Charles Laughton to be the first Mrs. Sarti in Brecht's play Galileo. And so I grew up in Hollywood and was exposed to this industry from early childhood on. I then later, when I was grown, became an actor and performed as an actor, and then was asked actually to write about my experiences as an actress working in Japan. And very gradually segued into writing about film and about the industry instead of being an actor in it, except that this past June, actually a year ago, I was cast in 2 films, which was my first appearance on camera in 40 years. And I must say, I've just seen one of them, and it's magnificent. It's going to be coming out fairly soon. So life is full of surprises and cycles, and my passion and commitment to this industry are lifelong.
Okay. Well, that I completely understand, since you grew up in it. So it's a different perspective from someone that just sees it from the outside and wants to be a part of it. And then you're more insightful because of that, and you can provide more information and knowledge from a different perspective, as from someone that wasn't born into it. Did you plan on going back into acting, or is that something that you're still pursuing or wouldn't mind still doing, since you've done it recently?
I wouldn't mind doing it at all. I actually had a very good experience on both films. And it happened because I was part of a script reading group, and the director brought his script to the group to read, and I happened to read a part that I was right for and wound up getting cast in it. I hadn't intended that, but was delighted actually to have that happen. And yes, I would like to do it more. If anyone needs a little old lady here, here I am. But I think I think what you said is very interesting, because I think that a lot of people who are working in this industry now, especially women, have experienced many facets of the industry out of passion and out of wanting to be able to succeed, contribute, participate in whatever way they can.
Mm-hmm.
And we're multi-hyphenates, I guess. We're multifaceted, multi-talented,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to have equal opportunity to pursue our dreams and our talents to the fullest.
Absolutely. That's part of why we established Female Filmmakers Fuse. It's in part, for me personally, I sometimes don't feel like I'm getting anywhere professionally, and I understand that it's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to make it. I could be the first to say I'm probably one of the ones that probably won't make it successfully in that route, especially learning what I've learned in life recently and seeing how, how this industry is. And, it's a reality that I've come to terms with. And so Female Filmmakers Fuse, like you said, that's my outlet and my way of still participating, because I know it's not for me. I've what's it called? Professionally wise. I've written, I directed a few things here and there. I don't know how far I'm going to go, if I'm going to continue to go that route. I don't feel maybe it is the route for me. So that's why this is what I've decided to do, and to help others that want to succeed. And it's not that I'm not successful in it. I just come to the realization that there's always going to be someone that's better, and I'm okay with that. But I want to establish a platform where I can help those continue in what their pursuit is in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's it's very important, I think, for us to support each other
Mm-hmm.
In this work and in making our way. Everyone has a different talent, a different gift, and I hate to think of anyone just giving up because of the difficulties involved.
Right. You're absolutely right. And it's not so much giving up. It's constantly hearing from people that you thought you were close to, kind of informing you're not there. You're the comparison. So it's just toxic. And so that's why I felt this is my way of, maybe until I eliminate the toxic things in life, this is my way of helping out. You're doing acting again 40 years later, and you still have that passion for it. You're still open to it. I'm still open to it. Right now, I'm trying to see how I can go through it without having the negativity involved.
I understand that. I think that we all have that reaction
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of what happens to us in this quote-unquote marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we really need to rethink and relook at and reevaluate our goals and our mission.
Right.
Female filmmakers and female film critics and every woman working in this industry is now sort of part of the statistical calculation.
Right.
But that calculation is usually made from a very small segment or small sector of the reality of our industry.
Right.
It focuses primarily on Hollywood and what Hollywood standards have been in terms of market, in terms of market share, in terms of representation, in terms of everything else. And I think that we're giving in very, very willingly to this domination of Hollywood by way of accepting what those stats mean to us. I think that there's a lot of film production that's going on, female film production that's going on that is not recognized by those stats, and that female film production is really hot and exciting and inventive and succeeding in spite of all kinds of odds that would make it impossible if it were not for the dedication of the women who are behind their projects.
Absolutely.
and participating in projects. And I think we really, as women who want to support women in film, we need to recognize and boost those projects and speak to their importance, and to recognize that they are what people want to see. Women want to see women's content on screen. They are not keen necessarily on seeing men's roles or plots or whatever translated into women's roles and plots. I mean, there are a lot of stories that we have to tell in cinema that are being told and need to be recognized.
Yeah. So Jennifer, this is Robin. I was just on a scout the other day, and it's funny, this conversation did come up, and these women have been collaborating and working together for, I don't know, I think it was like the last 10 years. And what's funny is, like, one person that came on, it was an actor, and she just goes, "This is amazing what you've done. Like, how did you do this? Like, I want to build my platform, and I want to, have this success." And they both looked at each other, the writer, director, and the DP / AD, like you said, we're like all this hyphenate. And they just looked at each other and they were just like, we had a plan, and we just got lucky. We just, we wrote something that we were very passionate about, and it just was a hit. And, they got, like, I don't know, 100,000 views and on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So, they built out this web series, and the actor's just like, okay. She's like, well, I'm glad I'm a part of this. She's like, but at the same time, like, it's such a roller coaster. Like, you have this, like, I'm doing really well, I'm motivated, and then all of a sudden, like, you dip down and you have this, like, frustration of, like, am I getting to where I want to be? Am I, like, doing the right things and the right outlets and having the right people? And once you find, those outsources, like what Alexa was saying, is definitely finding your tribe and, like, figuring out who's going to support you, and if, if it's just for writing or specifically directing or whatever your specialty is. I think that's the most important key, is just believing in yourself. Like, it is a roller coaster, definitely. Like, I've heard
it is definitely a roller coaster.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, because I was going to actually, lead back to, so you shifted your career from acting to producing?
No, well, I've worked in production as well. I mean,
Okay.
I've been associate producer on several films, but primarily I'm writing about film now.
Okay.
And I'm president of the Alliance of Women Film Journalists, and we are a collective of 90 professional women film critics who really try to focus attention on women's perspectives on film. We feel that women do see films differently. We want different things in films. We get different things from films.
Yes.
And we would like to be adequately represented. We are more than 50% of the population, and new stats have just come out that critics are numbered 2-to-1 male to female, and that's not right. So we try to make the voices of our members known. We support other women film critics as well, and we have a very active blog where this week, for example, we are publishing 24 brand new reviews written by women film critics, and we hope that people will read those and take those perspectives into account when they're deciding where to go for the weekend to see, spend their money and see a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking.
So we have.
I'm sorry. Go on.
I'm sorry.
No. Go on.
Well, we have a movie of the week that we pick, usually one that's directed by a woman, and usually one that is femme-centric and represents women well. It can be a feature or a narrative feature, or it can be a documentary. We have no preference there. We also publish lists of films that will be of interest to women because they have either very, very strong female fiction characters, or characters who are fictionalized real women. Stories of women's achievements, accomplishments, Karen Silkwood and all of that, that should be told and should be known and are inspiring to women who are just going about living their lives and trying to make headway and make a difference.
That's amazing.
So we have a, we're a source for women's perspectives on film, and hopefully to show how film can be inspiring to women and can be uplifting and enforce women's self-images and empower women.
No, that's great. I wanted to ask along the same lines, have you heard of, I'm sure you have, but have you heard of what they were saying about this film, Booksmart? And I think it pinpoints to what you're speaking of critics, especially female critics, because it's been a lot said positive about this project, about this film, Booksmart, and the box office is not matching what the positive feedback is on this film. And a lot, I guess there was, I don't know where I read it. I don't know if it was Deadline. I can't remember exactly.
Daily Mail.
No, I don't think it was that one. But someone had said that basically it was set up to fail, to kind of make an example of why female-driven, female everything films can't succeed in this industry, and why you still need men to back it. And I think since that article came out, a lot more women and people in general have been pushed to go see this film. Have you heard anything about that? Do you know what I'm referencing?
Oh, I'm sure she does.
I know what you're referencing. I have to say I've not yet seen Booksmart.
No,
I am planning on seeing it actually tomorrow, so I can't comment on the film itself. I think that Booksmart is it's distributed by Annapurna, and Annapurna is one of the strongest female distributors, I would say. I mean, I don't even know how to characterize them. I think that their films are brilliant. They have extremely good taste. They actually back projects that are difficult, but that they believe in. And, I hope that the statement that this is, that this film is really not getting the attention it deserves is generating more interest in it from women who will go and see it and make that difference dollar-wise in terms of box office, so that it doesn't become a deterrent to other films. I mean, there's another film that I have seen that I like a lot, Late Night.
Oh, Late Night, okay, yeah.
And it's also, I mean, I don't know what the stats are on it in terms of box office and everything else. So, I mean, it's a marvelous woman's film. It's directed by a woman. It's written by a woman. It stars women. It's about women in an industry that is very male oriented, and it's about how they succeed and they work together and they work out differences. It's a marvelous, superb film. These are the kinds of films that we would like to see embraced by audiences, especially by women. I think that there are possibilities for women to form, film clubs, film watching clubs, where they all decide to go to see one film together and have a discussion about it, a coffee afterwards. That's, a way that women audiences can have a mark.
That's a great idea. And instead of a book club, a movie club.
Jennifer, did we lose you?
Yeah, I just faded out for some reason.
Oh.
I don't know what happened.
That's okay. You wrote yourself back in. Fade in.
Yeah, we're here. I'm here.
No, that's a great idea, though. What is it called? A movie club instead of a book club, or
absolutely,
like a book club.
I think that there are women who are doing that, and we certainly encourage that. I mean, that would be wonderful. We'd also, from the Alliance point of view, we'd love for people to, sign up on our website for our e-newsletter and go and see the movies that we recommend, because we are very female focused, and we are a source of really smart writing, provocative writing, and interesting perspectives, women's perspectives on film. And we think that we write to an audience, a specific audience. I mean, men follow us as well, but we are very interested in having women follow us and interact with us as well.
Now, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Alliance of Women Film Journalists? When did you get involved in that? Did you found it, or were you brought in later, and that's how you became the president? How was that involvement? How did that inception transpire?
I am one of the founders. We were a smaller group of women who founded this organization. We founded and incorporated the organization in 2006. Our mission was, again, to raise the volume on women's voices when it came to film criticism, also to try to create more interest and support for women's films, for women in good production, for women's work in front of and behind the cameras, and for better representation of women in film, avoiding stereotypes and characters that just represent a male's arm candy, whatever. And so we incorporated. We built a website. And we now have 14 years later, a substantial backlog, obviously, of original content on our website. And we are 90 members strong. We accept very few members every year because we are all volunteers, and we have our own work to do as well as the work for the Alliance. And we give awards. Every year we give annual awards. We're known for some snarky awards. When, for example, an award that usually gets a lot of attention is the actress most in need of a new agent, and that is for an actor or an actress who has taken a role that really is demeaning to women, and why do that? We understand that there are pressures to make a living and all of that, but not everyone else always has a choice. But there are certain roles that seem to be more egregious than others, and so we do that. And we have specific women's awards: best female-directed film, best female script, female-written script. And others. All of this is available. The categories are available on the Alliance website at www.awfj.org. We also give awards at film festivals where we recognize the best female-directed films with EDA Awards. The name of our awards is our EDA Awards. And we've presented EDA Awards at Edinburgh Film Festival, at IDFA, at Salem Film Fest, St. Louis Film Fest. We are regulars at Whistler Film Fest at Whistler, Canada. And we encourage programmers to think about women's films when they're programming. And I think that the EDA Awards have advanced that cause at festivals, which are now, of course, signing on to agreements for 50-50 representation. Again, it's a quota system that doesn't necessarily work the best way, but it is progress in the right direction. It moves the needle in the right direction on women's representation at festivals. So I think that is what we do. I don't know. Ask more questions.
No, that's perfect. I wanted to get your input on something I read recently online. This woman shared that she had a friend. I believe I forget what he does in this industry, or but he works professionally in this industry, and she hadn't seen him for years, and she happened to bump into him, and he told her that the reason why they haven't seen each other is because he's taking on different jobs, travel jobs. He loves them, but not because he really wants to. And he started complaining that, and I think confused the two, but he was complaining that the Me Too movement is causing people like him to lose his job because women are now getting the focal point and they're getting hired more than he is. And he was very upset by it and told this woman this, and she was very upset, not for him, but the fact that he disclosed it and kind of didn't understand that the Me Too movement is one thing, and then trying to have more diversity and equality and inclusion and whatnot in this film industry with women is a different thing. It's a separate issue, and hiring more females that are talented and right for the job, and not because we want to take it away from men. It's just we want to be categorized for our talent and on an equal playing field. He didn't see it that way. He saw it as, because Me Too movement came in, I lost my job. I lost a lot of my career because I'm a white male, and now I'm the bad guy. When I used to get hired more, and now I have to step back because now a woman is going to be my boss, or a woman is going to take my job. How do you feel about something like that?
Yeah. There's I go back to Late Night. There's a sequence in Late Night where Emma Thompson, as the successful late night hostess of the television show, is speaking with one of her writers, a male, who is asking for a raise based on his being a single earning, a single income household that has just had a second child. And Emma Thompson responds to that as well. You are describing exactly what happened to women during the 1950s when men were getting advances because this was the argument that they used, and they were getting raises and they were getting career advances based on their family needs rather than on their merit as workers. And this is really not appropriate. And basically what you're telling me now is that I need to get a woman writer and you're fired. I mean, it's just, it's an argument. Yeah, it's a brilliant moment, actually.
Yeah.
It really speaks to this issue. I think women have had more difficulty getting hired because they're not seen as capable of doing specific kinds of jobs. It's been hard for women camera operators, for example, to get hired as DPs. This has got to change. It's ridiculous to actually discriminate against anyone on the basis of sex, male or female.
Right.
Yes.
It's the best person for the job should get the job.
Absolutely.
But up until I think maybe this guy, I don't know. I don't know who he is, and I don't know how talented he is either. But he may have been, getting jobs because there was a bias against women who applied. And there's no way of telling specifically what what's caused his change of status, so to speak. But I doubt that it's because of the Me Too movement. I truly doubt it. It's
a separate movement.
I mean, it's an absurd assumption, and I think that his anger or his disappointment is really misplaced. I think he should try and be working better himself and working with women rather than suggesting that his status is based on competition with women.
And speaking of, I kind of want to pinpoint on that, and also what you were saying about the quotas, where before, the way this industry was built, it was, and the reason why women were very catty was because we had to compete for one spot. Whereas now I feel that that's not an issue anymore. There's a lot of jobs out there. I don't think we're competing against each other. That's how it was before. Where before it's kind of like, okay, we have to, just to make it look right, hire one woman. And so you had all these women that were fighting each other and not being supportive of one another because they wanted that one position, that one spot that was open for one female. And I find that in the past couple years, that's changed because now there's more support, more empowering each other, because we realize now that we're not, pitted against each other. We're not fighting for one spot because that doesn't exist. We make our own spots. So it's different now, I believe. Do you think it's the same thing?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. And I think that the key there is that we really have to learn to work together. If we collaborate with each other, which is not what we've been taught to do.
Right.
We have been taught to compete with each other, and we're taught that from the time we're little girls.
Mm-hmm.
To compete in various ways with whatever various goals we have in mind. But I think that, the adage is that boys are taught to work together because they play team sports. And, girls don't get that training. And I think that that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous assumption. We can and have shown that we can work very, very well together. We can collaborate. We can work as a collective. And when we do that, we make opportunities for ourselves that otherwise we could not, as individuals, make and prosper from. So I think that any opportunity we have to collaborate with each other, we should take, and we should seize on those opportunities and make them, expand them, and make them more prolific and more available. And that's basically, I think, what the Me Too movement has to be about.
Yeah.
It's extending opportunities to each other, recognizing each other's skills and talents, and understanding that we don't all have the same talents, we don't all have the same visions, but if we put them all together, we get a lot further than if we're competing to have me, mine, and I all over the place.
Yeah, I also believe, just to piggyback on your guys' conversation, with this example that Alexa gave, I think too is that the reason why certain people are not getting work is not based on their gender. It's based, I think, on the resources that are given. A lot of us, that's also another reason as to why Female Filmmakers Fuse was to fuse everyone, to have resources in all departments. So that way we had more to choose from. Like we've outsourced multiple women in different variety of jobs, whereas, it's, oh, I didn't know somebody did that, and, looking for female key grips or female gaffers, it was kind of very slim pickings for quite a while. And now there's a plethora of women. So it's kind of nice because now it's kind of like there's this abundancy of jobs. And majority of the time they're always booked because they're that good. And it's kind of nice to know that, it's kind of like, darn, you're not available, but you're working.
Yeah, I agree. I think, training, it's very important to offer training opportunities to women as well. So that they can, that we're bringing women on board as professionals.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is something, at the Alliance, we offer an opportunity for women who want to write about films to do so on a guest blog. And, if you want to write about your own experience, we offer that guest blog for people to share their experiences as well. So that, again, we can amplify their voices, we can connect people, we can empower people through encouraging and training and making sure that they are recognized as quote unquote resources, as you put it.
Yes.
And acknowledged, and that there are so many women who are so good at all of this, at whatever they're doing, and just need to be recognized, need the opportunity to work and to produce and to get a backlog of experience and of work to show.
Yes.
Portfolio.
Mm-hmm. I've kind of built out this collective of DPs and men and women. And just as I find more people, I'm just like, hey, do you want to work together? So whether or not, like, whoever ends up getting like the DP job, so let's say I get it, and I'll call, hey, are you available to operate, or gaff, or AC? And it's kind of this nice collaboration. And I'm trying to slowly build it out. Or if they've already are part of a circle, I'm just like, hey, you should do this too, because this would be great to like keep the circle going and just keep lifting one another up. Even if I don't personally know them. Like, I went to a rental house and I was like, oh, there's a female AC. Hello. I was like, hi, I'm going to just add you to my contact
What
list.
is it you do? How can we work together?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Right. And so it was kind of funny because I was just like, sorry, I don't know you. I'm just going to burst into your bay and just introduce myself and get your contact. But it was fantastic, and I think the more we can do that, the better it will be.
Spirit. Absolutely. Yeah, it's clearly the right spirit. I think people who are, sort of trying to dig down and hold their own place and constantly promote themselves rather than opening up to others are going to wind up being bypassed in this whole movement, because I think it's a shift that's occurring that is really, it's a healthy shift.
Yeah.
And I think it's a productive shift. I think it's also hopefully our very creative, talented, soulful person's way of handling this kind of political morass that we're in as well. It's an expression of collectivity that we really need.
Yes.
We need to go forward, to continue, actually, I think. So, yeah, I think it's very, very important.
Now, you mentioned...
what?
Sorry. You mentioned something when we started this conversation that you started writing based on your experience, and I feel that was more for if I were to read it so that I can educate myself based on what, like basically learning from your experience. What you wrote, was that in book form or was that for magazines? Where could people find that if they wanted to read that? And do you feel that it's dated, or that it's still very much the same of what you were trying to teach others based on your knowledge of this industry?
Well, when I actually, as an actor, I was brought to Japan to be a member of a Japanese theater company. And it was a very famous Japanese theater company, and I was the only gaijin or foreigner in that company. And I was actually asked to write about that experience because nobody else had it. And the director, his name is Suji Terayama, the theater company is called Tenjo Sajiki. He's no longer living, but then the company is disbanded. But it was very famous. We toured Europe. We toured all over the place. Anyway, so I was asked to write about that experience, and I actually found that I liked having my own voice rather than speaking other people's lines that had been written for me. So I then continued to work as an actor, and I was working with a theater company called Theater for the Forgotten. We were very socially minded. We were a theater company that did theater in prison. And we performed plays that we wrote and developed in prison, but we also led workshops for prison inmates. And this was a nonprofit organization that needed attention and funding, and they turned to me one day and said, Jennifer, you've written an article. Why don't you write an article about us so that we get better known, so that we'll get funding? And I said, sure, that's a lovely idea. Who should I write it for? Anyway, they decided that the best place for me to write it was for the Christian Science Monitor, which is a very, very good newspaper and was a better newspaper back then than it is now, actually. And I submitted a story idea and got the go-ahead and got then asked to write for the Christian Science Monitor. So I was very lucky and I guess talented enough to rise up to the good luck. And so an opportunity became an actuality. And I started writing for the Christian Science Monitor, always freelance, and expanded from there. And I've had some, very major, as a writer, very major media exposure. My platforms have ranged from the Los Angeles Times to the Associated Press, and I've been a columnist ongoing. So it's a matter, I think, of luck, opportunity, and working very hard. I think everyone needs to actually, in terms of career advice, to see opportunities that present themselves and to take those, to take advantage of those opportunities without being afraid, without questioning. If you fail at something, well, then you'll do better the next time. That's how you have to look at it, and keep going forward, knowing that you have something to say, that you have something to contribute, and finding where that, what path leads you in that direction and following that path. I don't know how to advise people on career. I've had a very unconventional career, and it's been all over the place. I've worked in so many different fields, all creative, all having to do with words or images, and all pretty much to my liking. And I would wish that for everyone, actually. But I think that the best advice that I can give is just step up, step in there, step up, and do, have your Nike moment. Just do it.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I love it.
Yeah. Just do it. If somebody says, can you operate this camera?
Yes.
Say yes and go and find out how the hell to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, or can you help me with this? Say yes and learn on the spot what it is that you're doing, and have the courage and the audacity really to do that. Women are often told, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't whatever. That's not true. We can do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
We can do anything.
That's funny.
We should be doing anything and everything.
Yeah. That's funny because when you said that, my mentor said the same thing. Say yes to everything. And you can always call someone to learn about it, to do it. Never, even if you're afraid, just do it. Even if you've never done it before, say yes and do it. Because there's always a resource that you could tap into.
No.
It's, you can be scared. When I went, actually, when I did this part in the film that's coming out now, and by the way, I've seen it, and it is just absolutely magnificent. It is extraordinary. It's a totally independent film, and it's rare. And I've had a few people that I know who are critics see it, and they also think that it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations.
But what's that?
Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess I can say what it is. I've been told I can say what it is. I don't know whether you know as a director Boaz Yakin, but he's the director, and the film title is Aviva, and I don't know when it's going to be actually released, but just be on the lookout for it. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. But anyway, I actually did have to go. I had to be cast in it, and I was invited to audition, basically. And I went to the casting director, who's a well-known casting director, and I hadn't done anything like this for 40 years, literally nothing. I've been reading scripts, but to get up in front of a casting director and act and audition for something, hey, that was way outside my current playing field.
All right.
So I went, and I had a long speech, a long monologue that I tried to memorize, and it was not an easy one to memorize, and I broke it down to beats, and I went in there and I did it, and the casting director said to me, well, that was very good, you played all the beats, now I want to see you just toss it off. And I'm telling you, I was scared. I was just like, so nervous. I just said, oh my God, okay, well, here you go. And I did it. I tossed it off. The words got all kind of bollocksed up and strange. And at the end, I threw my arms up in the air and I said, well, that's that. I mean, that wasn't part of the monologue. And he looked at me and he said, you take direction very well. And I said, well, thank you very much for that. And I think thinking to myself, well, that was the kiss of death. And I left and I thought to myself, okay, you did it. You did what you could. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was a new thing for you. And if you don't get the part, don't beat yourself up, because you did the best you could. And that's all you can do. Yeah. And you went for it. Good girl. It's okay. Yeah. And I mean, months went by and I hadn't heard anything. And all of a sudden I got a call saying, or actually an email saying, Boaz would love for you to play the judge in Aviva. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, it's like, really? Well, that is just amazing.
That's fantastic.
So, I mean, I'm saying, even if you're scared stiff, as I was going into that audition, do it. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Mm-hmm. No recriminations, no self-doubts, don't put any stumbling blocks in your way. There are enough people who are trying to do that to you. Just try and test it out. Test yourself out continually. Go on test drives, different media and different, ask questions and do the best you can.
What would you say to someone that's trying to figure out how to do better with publicity? Because you mentioned that publicity, like, contacting, aside from going like prweb.com or something like that and paying $100 to send out a press release that might get to a blogger, if that. But it's something that I get asked a lot. And I myself don't know the answer to it because that's not my strong point. But, especially when it comes to independent filmmakers and ourselves, for example, Female Filmmakers Fuse, if we were trying to get out there more, aside from the social media, which is within your circle as it slowly grows, what would you suggest, or what advice would you provide someone if they said, I'm trying to get better at publicizing or doing promoting mm-hmm. my independent project or my nonprofit organization? What would you say, like aside from trying to contact publications directly? And sometimes I get maybe one reply back out of 20, if that.
Well, I think if you get the one reply back, you've got to develop that relationship. That's the one thing. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of inquiries. I meet a lot of people at festivals. I try to be open to them. Mm-hmm. I'd be a person that you'd be pitching to probably because, I'm the editor of our website and I assign reviews, and everyone is scrambling for publicity, and there's a big difference. I mean, there are marketers who specialize in various and sundry aspects of publicity and getting word out. Mm-hmm. There are some very, very good film publicists who have a tremendous amount of integrity. They cost. Mm-hmm. You have to pay them. And they will do a good job for you because they won't take any projects that they're not really supportive of.
Right.
Some film publicists will just, do anything mm-hmm. Because they're scrambling to make a living too. There's a big difference between the approach to a film critic, if you're trying to get a film reviewed, between that and doing a whole social media blitz. And I don't know really, I can't say because I have no statistics. I don't know what the results, the difference in results are. I, as a critic, who's really, bona fide, and all of our members are bona fide critics, think that there's a big difference between critics who are professional critics and basically curators of film for the public, between those critics and people who set themselves up on social media as bloggers. Some of the critics have very successful blogs, and some of our members are basically bloggers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want to send a note to any of them personally, that's a good idea. You know, hey, I've got a film. Would you be willing to take a look at it? Here are some details, and here's a link.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that depending on how good you are at describing what you're doing and how compelling that description is, you will get a response. And half the time, if you don't get a response, it's not that people aren't, or the critics are not interested. It's just that there's so much going on. It's very difficult. So you want to be as smart and concise and compelling as you can be in whatever it is that you send out. That's number one. And I think, again, social media is a very good place to do this. I've seen a lot of people. I have friends who are directing shorts now and want their shorts to be recognized and all of that. They're doing a lot of social media. And I think that they're quite successful with it in terms of publicizing their project. I think you can overkill. I think you can make people nuts by storming them too much.
Right.
And creating, kind of like, oh no, not again, kind of a response. So you have to be respectful and judicious in the way that you're approaching. And that's, it's very hard to find the right balance there. But I think, again, your best, if you're trying for publicity and you can't hire somebody, I think your best bet is to look around, to search on the internet for critics, for people who, as I say, curate for the public, and see who seems to be most sympathetic to what it is that you've done.
Okay.
And approach them individually in a very compelling way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't hear back, try again, but don't beleaguer them with
Right.
it, because it just makes people crazy. You know how you feel about that.
No, absolutely.
And other people will feel the same way.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, don't overdo it, but just
this
no.
is the 12th email you've sent me in the past 2 days. Stop it.
Yeah, too much.
I mean, don't do that.
That's
and
that's
try
excessive.
Also, if you meet people at festivals, for example, I think one of the best things about festivals is the opportunity to meet people and engage with them and follow up. And I think relationships, again, are very important here. When I say that, however, be careful that you don't think or you don't assume that because you've established a relationship that there will be a review or there will be a good review.
Right.
Because critics have to be independent, and you have to understand that they are their first allegiance as professionals is to the public. It's not to friend filmmakers.
Right.
And you can alienate people that way also by assuming that your personal friendship or the fact that they've actually liked your film and supported you in some way will entitle you to a review or to a good review. That's a very fundamental thing that happens sometimes. It's very off-putting and disturbing. Okay. So I don't know whether this is helpful, but
no, that all is. And Jennifer, we actually have to wrap things up here. Can you quickly tell everyone who's listening where they can find you and the organization?
Yeah, they can find me, Jennifer Merin. It's Merin. If you Google me, that'll lead you to the organization. But the organization is the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. which we call awfj.org, O-R-G, on the internet. We have a weekly newsletter. We'd love for you to sign up for it. We also have a presence on Facebook and on Twitter, and we'd love to have you follow us. We're interested in what you're interested in if you're listening to this podcast, and we'd love to have an ongoing relationship with you, supporting each other.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being our guest today, and I look forward to following what Alliance of Women Film Journalists has coming in the near future, and will be following up and contacting you as well. So thank you so much for being our guest today.
It's been a privilege. It's been a privilege, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a safe and happy Sunday.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Poehler and Robin Pabello, only on LA Talk Radio.